Hi, my name is Robert Way. I was in the United States Marine Corps, and I did just about two tours from 1988 to 1995. My primary role in the Marines was a combat engineer. We basically worked quickly and skillfully to help navigate on combat missions, and by constructing bridges and roads, clearing barriers and obstacles with explosives. We detect and avoid mines and other environmental hazards. We also facilitate the mobility of friendly forces while impeding the enemy. Basically, I'm a glorified grunt, and we can fight alongside the infantry. A combat engineer in the Marines, life expectancy in combat is about 12 minutes. It's a very stressful job. Um, my time in the service it had its ups and downs. I did travel around the world, uh, witnessed many cultures, and made a lot of friends, made a lot of enemies. But my time in the military was, you know, it was fun until the very end. Till the very end. And that's when after Desert Storm, I came back, and that's when my problems began. Um, the transition into civilian life was difficult. I went on a long road, um, becoming an alcoholic. Um, drinking and drugs was is a predominant story in a lot of combat veterans that try to transition into civilian life. Life after the military posed a lot of challenges. Basically, it was like another battle to possess that posed a variety of challenges. Um, Not only to be fought, but to be understood and accepted in order to be successful in civilian world. There are many factors that I would consider readjustment back to civilian life, such as understanding and abiding by civilian legal standards that may be different from military standards. We have a tendency to the Uniform Code of Military Justice is our laws, and then we have to deal with civilian laws as well. They can coincide with each other, and um, you can get a catch-22 sometimes. Like if you get a DWI out in the civilian world, you get charged with a crime, but then you also get charged with a crime in the military for the same thing. So double jeopardy is a big thing for us. Don't we don't? I don't think uh, the Bill of Rights or anything like that really exists for us. We deal with our own code of justice. Um, Coexisting with other cultures and values and norms from those in the military. Um, Really dealing with authority figures is a big issue with a lot of veterans, because you have to understand that we were well respected in the Marines or in the military, no matter what branch you were in, and then to get out and have to reassimilate to being nobody again. Um, you know, Reestablishing and even reevaluating relationships with family and friends was a big issue. Um, Finding a new career after the military. I tried to go back to my regular job, but then I realized that even at 27, 25 years old, my body was wrecked to the point where I felt old all the time, and it did affect the quality of the work that I did. Um, Another thing for a lot of veterans trying to pursue a college or even a university type education. That's I ended up going to school late in my life when I was 48, almost 30 years after I got out of the military. So I mean, it was, um, yeah, a locating a new place to live is a big issue. Most of us go back home to mom, and then try to reassimilate somehow back into the civilian world without any kind of repatriation. Um, Maybe some more complex issues, depending on the individual veteran and whether or not he or she has a benefit of positive support system at home. The intrinsic matters can be crucial to his or her overall transition into successful development. Some issues could be veterans' relationship with themselves, with or herself, their sense of identity, purpose, self-worth. Reassessing our life goals and ambitions, followed by maybe setting and trying to achieve certain goals in life are hard. Coping with starting over in society is a big deal. No longer holding the respect and authority that you did when the rank and billet that we attained in the military. So ultimately, you get out and you're being regarded as Joe Blow and versus Sergeant Wade, platoon sergeant. A lot of psychological effects, traumatic experiences that we had experienced in the military. It inhibits personal and professional growth. It really does. And until you can realize that, that's the only way you're going to be able to achieve any type of positive reintegration into society. A lot of us come back with PTSD, survivor's guilt, depression, inclination towards substance abuse and addiction, alcohol. A lot of us come back with physical handicaps. Some of us have, blown limbs, stuff like that. Some of us, it's all psychological, PTSD. I want to say 90% of the people that come back from combat have some sort of PTSD. Military sexual trauma is a big thing, and it's hard to talk to somebody about that. Basically, as a whole, transitioning out of the military can be a very traumatic and difficult experience, contrary to the common illusion of everything is going to be gravy in the civilian world. That's not true. The reality is that the civilian world abides by many standards and are seemingly opposite of those of the military. So a few comparisons I could give you would be like, in the civilian world you have individuality versus unit cohesion. Purchasing all of your essentials in civilian life versus being issued all your essentials. Fragmented social structure versus organized social structure. Limitless morals and values in the civilian world versus uniform morals and values. So the way that we think is a process that we were taught, and it's very hard to get to assimilate, especially to a person who's never been in the military or really even understands anybody in the military. Interactions with the VA. Well, I could write a book about this, but to be pretty blunt, the mental health system is flawed to the point where I think it's detrimental to the veterans because we're experiencing inadequate care. The community care program is flawed. Getting appointments, medical bills in the civilian community do not get paid by the VA. So versus somebody who has 100% disability like myself, give you an example. I got in a car accident 3 years ago and my car got totaled. I ended up in the ER. I had to have months of rehabilitation, and basically for me to get all the care that I need through the VA would have taken me a year, months. I had to go and outsource. I got a lawyer, but I had to go and outsource through a financial company to to get all this care like within a couple of weeks versus 3 months. And so for somebody in the military to not be able to live next to a hospital, I live 50 miles away from the main VA hospital. If I wanted to get community care out in my community, then it would take 2 months for somebody to get a hold of me to make an appointment for my eyeglasses to get replaced because I broke my eyeglasses. And it took me almost a year till I finally got glasses. To get an appointment in my community took 6 months, and then it just sat. And then then they'll call you and tell you that you have an appointment and they're going to schedule it to you. Another example, I had to go and get my gallbladder looked at, so they were going to send me to, or my bladder, and so they sent me to community care because I didn't want to drive 50 miles to go to an appointment for 5 minutes. So it took me a few months, but I finally got an appointment in town. It was actually 15, 20 miles down the road. But then I waited 30 days to go to this appointment. And then like within a week before my appointment, I get a phone call from the provider telling me that they don't accept the VA's insurance, and I would have to call the community care program myself and tell them that I have to reschedule and try to find somebody else, another care provider, which took another 3 months. And by that time, it was, it's ridiculous. It's not even worth sometimes for us, And then another thing is we get travel reimbursement. Most veterans do, if you have to drive to the VA so many miles away from your home. And when you go through the community program, you're not eligible for gas mileage reimbursement because you're supposed to be going in your community, which is the whole purpose of using the community care program. But then the last 3 times I did that, I got a phone call saying that, well, we have to send you to someone that's right across the street from the VA hospital 50 miles away. So you might as well just send me to the VA in the first place if I have to drive there. But see, now what's happening is, because I use the community care program and I drove across the street from the VA hospital to go to a real doctor, real hospital as far as I'm concerned, and I wasn't eligible for gas reimbursement because I used the community care program, which to me is it's a double standard. It's like they're finding out a way to not have to pay the gas reimbursement, but now I'm out that money, but I'm still driving there anyways. I mean, you know what I mean? So it's like there's really nothing to protect the veterans, especially when they don't actually tell us any kind of how many days it's going to take to get an appointment. And so we're left in the dark. Another issue would be the medical bills that I received from an accident. The VA automatically will deny paying those bills. Automatically, every time I've had to go to a VA, I've had to go to an emergency room visit across the street. I would send the bills to the VA. They would get them. They would deny and tell me that. And then, you just kind of let it sit and wait a minute. You call the hospital, try to figure out how you're going to pay this bill. Then you call the VA and they're no help. You can file appeals and all this kind of stuff. But in the end, what ends up happening is 2 years later, you get a letter in the mail from the VA saying that they went ahead and paid all your bills. So it's like they are just like any insurance company where they're going to deny your care, they're going to deny paying your bills until you fight it and fight it and fight it, and then they end up until they decide to go ahead and pay. I mean, it's the bureaucracy, the system is flawed. The VA does not cure anything. They are only there to treat symptoms. That's it. So the common illusion that the VA actually helps the veterans when in fact I think it hinders, and we end up getting lesser quality of care than the regular civilian who has insurance. And it really comes down to insurance. If we could just get into the system to have, as a, they have Optum and they have TriWest. TriWest has been paying bills for years through the VA. Optum's a new company. The thing is they have other clients, not just the VA, not just veterans. So, you'll get. I got a letter from Optum certain bills for a procedure that I had. It was supposed to be in the community, but I ended up driving to across the street from the VA hospital, 55 miles away. And then when I got the bill, it said that the financial responsibility for the veteran was zero, but the bill was over $12,000. But all the VA paid was $569 of 12,000. So what's happening is a lot of caregivers in the community are not taking veterans and providing care for them because the VA is not paying them. Through some research, I find that the VA pays Optum and TriWest. Now, TriWest is supposed to pay the provider. But if they're only gonna, if you're gonna send them a $12,000 bill and they're only gonna pay $500 of it, do you think they want to take care of veterans if the VA is not gonna pay? And so that's the bureaucracy we're running into right now. Is the VA system is very flawed, especially the community care program. The mental health side of it, that's a whole nother issue. I go and see one doctor, and then a year or so later, that doctor leaves for whatever reason. And then I end up with a new doctor or no doctor for another 6 months to a year until they get a new doctor to come into the system. So here I am taking certain medicines that I need a psychologist or psychiatrist to provide these meds for on a monthly basis. And now, because I have a new doctor or no doctor, I have to go through 3 different doctors in 3 different cities just to get a prescription filled. So the mental health system is, you go in and you talk to them, that's fine. I call it readjustment counseling. I would like to do that once a month. I haven't seen one in 3 months because my doctor up and left, and the VA never let any of the veterans know. And then veterans are showing up for their appointments and coming to find out there's no doctor there. So I mean, it's really a flawed system, and I know a lot of it has to do with money, insurance, who's paying what. So my experience with the VA can be a good one, depending on where you go. Now I've been in Maine, and Maine VA hospitals there, there are maybe a few of them there, but you have to travel 2-3 hours to get there. So you have to decide whether it's important enough or if you're hurting enough to go that far, to go to a hospital to hopefully get care, or maybe be turned away having to, they don't have a doctor there at that day or something, to make an appointment takes months. You have to go through a referral, you have to go to your doctor at a community care outreach center in town. You go see that doctor just so they can go ahead and make an appointment to go see another doctor at the main regional VA hospital. Then once you get to the main VA regional hospital, it takes months to get to that point, to get that appointment for them to call you. The only time I think I've ever had anything really given to me anytime quick is when I called the congressman in New Hampshire and let him know what was going on, and God, 2 days later I had everything I need. I had appointments, everything. So yeah, so I mean, I could go on about a lot of stuff, but those are the basics right now that I would say my dealings with the VA. And again, I've had great care in New Hampshire, or Vermont, the best care I ever had. And then I moved to Tennessee, and it's subpar. And to get your controlled substance medicines that you need, God forbid you have, you have uh, marijuana in your system or something, and next thing you know, people do a lot of CBD now, and you will, after a while, your body metabolizes that CBD, and you start popping on urine tests for positive for marijuana. At that point, what happens is that the VA has a standard where they will take away all your pain medicines if you have narcotics other than what they prescribe you in your system. Once you get labeled as a substance abuse disorder or a substance abuse user, your life changes. Um, People won't talk to you about that kind of stuff, um, claiming it's federally, illegal in most states. Even states where it is legal, it's hard to have a doctor be able to actually talk to your doctor about marijuana use or what the positive effects of it is on a lot of the veterans. And when you can't talk to a doctor about your health, then I think that's hindering your care. And a lot of people there are good doctors in there that actually know what they're talking about when it comes to this kind of stuff with substance abuse. And, an oxymoron is when I was in Vermont, working in Vermont in the court system as a guardian ad litem, there was, pot was legal there, and, actually at first it wasn't. So they were telling veterans they had a substance use disorder, but then they made it legal in the state, and veterans were legally able to get marijuana, medical marijuana. But then they don't have, now the VA says they don't have substance abuse disorder anymore because now they have a prescription for it. So do they still have a substance use disorder? I mean, to be labeled as that? I don't know. Why? Because it's legal? So, yeah, again, depending on where you live, you could have good experiences versus bad. Some places are, like Massachusetts VA system is the worst I've ever seen. So yeah, experiences in the VA, it's a flawed system. The VA is not there to help you. They're there to treat symptoms. That's it. There are good doctors, just like everywhere else, but I don't think. I've been waiting almost 2 years now trying to figure out what's wrong with me. So we're still making appointments to figure out why I got certain issues. So I think if I had just went to a civilian hospital and had all the tests done, by a real doctor, I probably would have had this figured out by now. But this is the life that I live as a veteran in the VA system. And I think that's about it. That's all I got to say. And I appreciate you guys listening to my story and what I have to say. And I thank you for your consideration.